Um, Welcome everybody. I was doing a funny wave then, somebody in the room. Welcome to our second activated live transmission. I'm going to try and look at the camera instead of looking at people. Today, I put a little vote in my stories and you guys said you wanted me to talk into detaching your worth from the business success. And I can assure you, this is something that I work through on a daily basis. It is forever coming up. And something that I really noticed last week is the days when like sales are coming in, how much more like upbeat and positive I feel than on the days when a sale isn't coming in. And I've said worth, but actually for me, what I feel it's a confidence thing. It's a confidence that the numbers are going to come in, the goals are going to be hit, because I feel like I've done a lot of work on my worthiness and kind of like, I feel like almost like I know I'm worthy now, but it's just like, but is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? So firstly, I just want to say you're a human. It's completely normal. And the other thing is, if you are a personal brand, if you are a coaching, healing business, human design readers, mystics, whatever you are, if you are a personal brand, then it's even harder to kind of detach that, oh, they don't want to buy from me, or they said I'm too expensive, like from it being about the business, it's about the product, whatever it is you're selling. And this was the thing that I struggled with the most right at the start. So before I'd launched my business, when I was working with a confidence coach, like get myself ready to launch because I was so scared. Like I remember like her saying this, it's like, you're not your business, you are different. I was like, I couldn't get my head around it. I'm like, oh, but I am going to be the business. Like I'm going to be the face. I'm going to be the nutritionist. Like they'll be working with me. If they're saying no to the offer, they're saying no to me, it's because they don't want to work with me. It's because they don't like me and all this kind of stuff, right? And all of this stuff comes up. And the truth is, there may be some truth in that. They may not like you. But if they've reached out to ask about your offer, they probably do like you. So let's like say that from the start, right? If they're following you on social media, if they've reached out to explore an offer, they probably like you. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be considering working with you in any way. So that's the first thing. So they like you. Let's get that out of the way. However, if they do say no, there's so many different reasons why that would be. So it can be simply like, oh, I didn't realize that's how much it costs to do X, and their mind just wasn't in that place yet. So, for example, they thought working nutritionist was going to cost them £100 for a 60-minute session. And they found out that you have like a 3 or 4 month package and it costs, a few grand. Of course, their nervous system's going to go like haywire and go, oh my God, I wasn't expecting this and I hadn't put that in my money. And they may need to go away. They may need to like regulate their nervous system. And it may take 1, 2, 3 years before they start knocking back on your door and being like, okay, I'm ready now. Like, I'm so sick of these health challenges that I've got. I'm ready to spend the money. So it may be a financial thing. It may also be you not communicating the value correctly. So you may not be speaking it. So I'm just trying to check the time. So keep an eye on the time when I started. Okay. You may not have communicated the transformation that person's going to get in a way that makes it feel motivating enough for them to invest that money. Because this is always going to happen where people say they can't afford it, but then you see them spending it somewhere else. Like actually, there was a girl who reached out to work with me one-to-one in nutrition. And then she ended up like saying that she couldn't afford it. She was going to save up. She ended up like joining Nourished You, my 12-week weight loss program. And during Nourished You, she was talking about she was going on holiday and she needed sunscreen recommendations. And I was like, okay, so you probably could have worked with me one-to-one then. You probably could have afforded it. I clearly didn't communicate the value in the transformation that you could get from working in a one-to-one container. Or it was just a different financial priority. It was like, well, I can do the group programs. Do there is that simple. But I probably didn't communicate that transformation appropriately to her in that space. But likewise, I just want to stress that point as well. Sometimes people have different financial priorities. So there's people say, if you look at your bank statements and you see where your money's going, like you will see what people value. So, I'm spending money on, organic food, natural organic beauty products, trainings, certifications, like all these kind of things. Like I really value my health and I really value growth and all the different things. You're never going to see a designer handbag on my bank statement, even if I was a multimillionaire. Is just not something that appeals to me. It's not my vibe. You're never going to see nail appointments on it. I just don't do nails. Like I really freak out with long nails and the dirt underneath them, all that kind of stuff. And the thing to say that you've got long nails is a problem, but it's like, it's not me, right? I'm not going to spend money in those places. But other people might value it. So the first thing is that's the other thing, sorry, we've got different values. So people can like not see the value in spending a few grand on a health package because it's not health isn't one of their top values. It's like, oh, I prefer not to have painful periods. But for me, like, you know, travel, expensive handbags, whatever is my top value, which is cool, right? Because we all get to have different values. So that's the other thing. So let me come back so I can remember what I just said. So firstly, you may not have communicated the value appropriately. Secondly, you may not have communicated the transformation appropriately. And thirdly, it may not just be in alignment with someone's value, and that is all okay. That is nothing to do with you. That's to do with their values, and they absolutely need to spend money where they value it. Because I always say this, that if you are feeling stressed, you're probably living your life out of alignment with your values. If you, yeah, we'll stop that one there because otherwise I'll go off on tangent. So if you're not communicating the value appropriately, what do you need to do? Okay, sorry, just go back a step. So there's two different parts of this, right? So business performance and what self-worth. So there's two things coming through. You're putting things out, you're saying something's available to buy and nobody's reaching out, right? If nobody's reaching out, you've got a lead generation problem. You're not convincing people to reach out. You're not proving that you are the one to teach on this thing, or you're the one that's going to be able to help them get this transformation or whatever it is. Like people just don't know because they're not reaching out. If people are reaching out and then saying no in the DMs, then that is not communicating the transformation, the value of what it is that you're offering. So there's two different parts to this. So if it's the former, if you're putting stuff out and just nobody is reaching out, then we've got to come back. And I said this last week, and I'll probably say it every single week, we've got to come back to the content. We've got to come back to the content. It is whatever channel, whether it's a podcast or a blog or Pinterest or Instagram or TikTok or Substack or Facebook group, like whatever the place is where you're going to give your value and like prove yourself as the one to come to, you're going to need to go all in on the content. And this goes against what a couple of my mentors have told me, but I can honestly say, you know, because I worked with a couple of mentors who are very much around like, it's just about the energy and being the right energy. And if you're not in the right energy, it's going to transmit through and like, no one's going to engage with it anyway. And then you'll feel worse. And I get that to an extent. But I think, and interestingly, the other option I gave you guys for this week, and we'll do it next week instead, was, is it self-sabotage? Is it perfectionism? Is it self-sabotage? Or is it upper limit level stuff? We'll talk about that. But like what I found was I ended up just self-sabotaging because I just kept making these excuses that I was just never in the right energy. I was like, oh, there's no point now because I'm really tired and I'm not in the energy I was when I did it. So I just didn't post. Like so long would go by and not posting, and then I'd do one post and it didn't do well anyway. So then I didn't bother. So the first thing we need to do is like, if you, certainly if you're at the start of your business, yeah, it's fine. If you've been going 5 years and you've already got like, you know, multiple 100K months coming in or whatever. But at the start, we're proving ourselves, like we're proving with a person to come to. So we have to show up, we have to share value, we have to like show that. So the first thing is like content. And also content around the thing that you are selling. So if, you know, for me, if I'm selling a weight loss program, I need to create content around weight loss to make sure I'm attracting in an ideal audience. So when I do sell, they're people that want a weight loss program. I haven't got them in. So I was like talking to somebody about this the other day, who may or may not be in the room right now. I think I'm sure we spoke about it. It's so easy for me to do hormone content and that content to do really well. But there's no point in building an audience of people who don't want to lose weight, who just want balanced hormones, but have got no interest in weight loss. Because when I sell my weight loss program, nobody's going to want to buy it. So then I'll just be like, well, that was a waste of time. I mean, I may get a load of one-to-one clients in, which is great, but ultimately I want my weight loss program to be like a cash cow that literally just runs 3-4 times a year. And every time, you know, it's 20-30 grand just coming into the bank account, and I aren't really having to do anything other than like tell people it's open again and they can come and join me. Like the content exists. I'm just rerunning the same thing over and over and over. So this happened to me last week. It was like, oh, I did this post about 42 reasons my periods were better at 42 than 32, right? And this post flew, like did so unexpectedly well. I was not expecting it. It went absolutely wild. The saves are off the charts. You know, it was doing really well. The reach was great. And I was like, wow, that's weird. And then the next day I did one like about weight loss and it did terrible. I was like, oh, okay. So the ego could be like, well, people don't like my weight loss content, so I'm going to do the period stuff because people care about periods and they care about weight loss. But like, well, that's not true. Like we all know from the media, from like these like diet protein shake companies, these ridiculous like whatever fads are out there. We know people want to lose weight. It's just people don't know me as that weight person, or my content isn't speaking to them, or somewhat. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, it's a reflection of our content. Like, and we just need to take ownership of it. Put our big girl pants on, realize something's not working, and just show up more. And to that point, content is a muscle. So setting yourself like a 21 day, 28 day, 35 day, whatever it is, like challenge where you're showing up every single day, I think it is a really great thing to do, even if you're not going to do that for the rest of your life, or you're just going to do it for that time. But actually sitting down at your desk every day and just writing something, like get into the habit of writing content, is going to make it easier to create more content. And you'll get to a stage where you've got so much content, you're just copying and pasting. Like March, I was just copying and pasting old posts from like 18 months ago and giving them a different graphic. I wasn't writing anything from scratch. I was like, I wanted to show up consistently. It must be February. Maybe it's Jan, Feb. I can't remember what it was. And I was like, I just knew I wanted to post every single day. And there was no new content coming out. It was just stuff I'd done 18 months ago. And it's great stuff. So, okay. So firstly, right. So let's recap then. So people aren't buying. We're feeling like we're not worthy. We need to take ownership and go, okay, there's something wrong here. Either people don't see me as this person, or I'm not communicating the value, or it's their stuff. The other thing that I find happens, please do put in the chat if this happens to you, is if you put content out there, just type that thing, you put content out there, it doesn't do well in inverted commas, so you end up ghosting social media. I used to do this all the time. I'd be like, I spent 2 hours on that and it was terrible. Sorry, it was a really great post and like nobody liked it, no one was saving it, it wasn't worth it, I'm gonna quit. And this is not going to help your business. There are times when I do advocate for completely taking yourself out of your business and having a rest. I spoke about this at the end of last year when I was ready to quit my business. And sorry, I'm just reading a comment. Yeah, okay. At the end of last year, and I was ready to quit my business. I was like, just so over it. I wasn't enjoying it. I think I spoke this last week, didn't I? It's like, I wasn't enjoying the clients I was working with. I wasn't enjoying the niche I was working in, all the different things. And I was going to quit my business. And my mentor, Amy, was just like, I want you to take an extended period away from your business. I want you to completely detach. I don't even want you like I don't want you going social media. I don't want you even thinking about it. I just want you to live your life for 4, 6, 8 weeks, whatever you need is time away. And I did, and I deleted Instagram, and I said I was going to take 4 weeks off. After 2 weeks, I was so desperate to come back because I had so many ideas and I was forcing myself to stay off. It was like I had so much to say. I was so clear about the transformation I wanted to get people. I was so clear about who my ideal client was. I was just so desperate to go. And I made myself take that extra time off, which I think was a really good idea. So there can be times that can be really beneficial if you just completely burnt out. If you're like, I can't take any more and you just need to rest and recuperate. Like, I think that can be a good time. But if you're just ghosting it because it's like you don't like seeing the numbers, if they're triggering you and all that kind of thing, then you're doing yourself and you're doing your business no justice. On that note, it's just dropped in. I I have the setting on where I can't see other people's performance. So I don't see how many likes people have got. Yeah, I've got a nodding here. Because I just don't need to see somebody else got 1,300 likes on that post, which is like basically the same as the post that I did that got 20 likes on it. Like, I just don't need to see that. Do you know what I mean? So I really recommend that, because because you don't want to get yourself into comparisonitis. Like, and you also need to remember that your Instagram likes isn't a reflection of income either. Or Instagram followers isn't a reflection of income. There are many people I now know who have got like under 2,000 followers who have multi-million-dollar brands. Just like there are plenty of influencers with like 100,000 followers who don't make any cash through their businesses. So yeah, that's a great way to detach from the numbers. Okay, so let me keep thinking. So the next thing to say is, even if you are a personal brand, you are a separate entity to your business. Your business is separate from you, and you were just chosen as like the vehicle to communicate this message. If it's not landing, if the money isn't coming through how you want it to, it's just a communication issue. It's just people just aren't getting it. And it's nothing to do with you as a person. So come back to your ideal client. So we talked about this last week. Who's your soul client? What is the transformation you want to get them? Come back to that. Start creating your content in line with who that person is, the transformation they want to get, and you'll start to call in people, and it'll be amazing. Okay, I feel like I've labeled that point. I'm going to keep going. So the next thing I want to say is, how are we doing for time? These things go so quickly when I feel like I'm not saying anything. The next thing I want to say is, really, when it comes to like not this detaching your worthiness from like the business performance, firstly, everyone who signed up for Actor, if you're in this like initial bit, if you're watching this within the first like 30 days, you'll have got free access to 30-day access to Let's Make Money Honey experience. Please go in there and watch the self-worth module and do the self-worth breath work. We have nods in the room, people that have done that. It is incredible, and it will really help you own your worth. So that's the first thing. But the second thing I want to say is, you are going to feel more rocked by lack of sales or people saying no or things like that when you are not taking care of yourself. So if you are sleep deprived, if you are just eating junk all the time, if you're not moving your body, if you're not doing things that bring you joy, if you've got no work-life balance, if you're not getting rest, if you're not having time with like the family or the kids or whatever it is that brings you joy, if you're not doing those things, you're going to be far more impacted when you get a no, or you put something on sale and no one buys it. And I say this from experience. So when you are most run down, not only are you the least magnetic to your ideal clients, because nobody wants to work with a burnt out, sick human, whatever industry you're in, whether you're a business mentor or you're a health person or whatever it is, no one wants to work with someone who looks absolutely exhausted, knackered. They look, all the different things. Like, people want to work with people who've got energy and all these different things. But you're also going to be, so you're not going to be as magnetic, but you're also going to take it worse, because we all know, like, when you're sleep deprived, you're going to have these hormonal imbalances. You're going to feel worse about yourself. You're going to feel like you're probably not living life in alignment with your values if you are feeling like this. So it's going to impact you more. So I really recommend that, again, if you have put something out and it's not selling, to take time away and go for a walk or have a bath or take a couple of days to just refill your cup, or a week or 2 weeks or whatever you need. This isn't an excuse to quit and self-sabotage, by the way, and we will talk more about this next week. So it's not like, well, no one's buying today and I feel drained, so I'm going to push the launch back 3 months from now and actually not go ahead with the launch that I'd planned, because that is not the solution. Unless you are completely burnt out, of course, and you're like chronic fatigue, adrenal fatigue stage. But yeah, take some time out, just take a couple of days away to refill your cup so that you're showing up as a more magnetic self, and just reassess like the message that you're communicating. Are you really communicating that transformation that people are going to get? Are you saying it with conviction and confidence, or are you sort of shying away? Because that's the other thing, actually. Sorry, I was going to say this when I was thinking about this subject. So often when so I saw this, so this is really interesting today, right? So there's someone who I follow on Instagram, and she's like multi-millionaire, like 20-year-old as they all are. And she was closing the doors to this new offering, and she was live. And she was like, doors are closing in like 2 hours. And it was really interesting because I've only followed her for a couple of weeks. And she did exactly the same with the last offer. And I saw she was like going live. She was like, this is closing in a couple of hours. I'll delete this live after the doors have closed, but I want to talk about this. And like these people, these multimillionaires are showing up and selling right to the end. They're not like, oh, brilliant, I've hit my target. I've made like £700,000 this month. I'm done. Anything else would be great, but it's like they're selling right till the end. And I thought it was really interesting that she still does that. So yeah, I don't know how I got into that thing, but yeah. So if you're having doubts, show up even more, because the more you show up, the more you talk about it, the more there is that crazy stat, isn't there, about the number of times people need to see something before they'll buy it, and then they'll forget about it because they've got a lot going on. So sometimes it'd be like, oh, like I heard you talk about that, but I didn't realize you did. Someone said this to me the other day, actually. It was like, oh, how did I not know you were doing your weight loss program? And I was like, I spoke about it constantly for like 6 weeks, and now I'm like 6 weeks into it. So that's like 12, that's 3 months of me talking about it. This person watches my stories because I see their face come up. So I'm like, well, how did you not know? But people are busy and they're not really paying that much attention to you, right? So you have to talk about things more than you think you need to. And the other thing tied to this is where our mind goes when we start to attach our worthiness to the success of our business, or whether people are buying or they're not buying, is we start to like over dramatize the negative outcome. So it's like, I haven't had a sale today, so no one's ever going to sell, and I'm going to have to burn my business to the ground 2 months from now. Like, we go into that, and you just need to remind yourself, like, thoughts are just thoughts and they're not the truth. So like, it's a nice saying I like to bring myself back to. I'm just having thoughts, but they're not the truth. I'm going to let that thought go. I'm going to choose a more empowering thought. And yeah, I feel like I'm going to wrap it up there, because I can just go on, can't I? Let me just check my notes. I only wrote 3 bullet points down. I can't read my own writing, but I think those are the things I was going to say. I'm literally like, what does that say? Yeah. So do you guys want homework every week or not? I gave you homework last week. Your homework, go and do my breath, go and do my self-worth breath work. Have you got any questions? Did I speak into the subject I intended to, or was that a complete random transmission? It felt like it spoke to that subject. Okay, amazing. So next week, unless anything changes, I will be speaking into this perfectionism, self-sabotage versus upper limit level stuff, which I'm very excited to speak about. Thank you for joining me live. I'm very grateful. And please DM me if you have any breakthroughs or any key takeaways from this training. And I will see you back here next week.